The Grand Calumet River flows for 13 miles through some of the most industrialized land in the entire United States. This river flows west from Gary and eventually splits in East Chicago, right through areas inhabited by steel mills and oil refineries, and is further polluted by the runoff from other things like sewers. The river was once host to many thriving ecosystems that have been severely damaged by the impacts of industry in the area. Beginning with the opening of Calumet Harbor in the 1870s, the area has developed in heavy industry, and as a result, many pollutants have entered the river. Steel plants account for over 90% of pollutants that enter the river, and they are allowed to dump many dangerous chemicals such as arsenic and cyanide into the river system. However, the problem is not only with things like steel plants dumping waste directly into the river, but contaminants are entering the river from non-point sources like industrial runoff and leaking underground storage tanks. All of these pollutants in the river affect not only the people who live by the river, but also the approximately 12 million people who live on the shores of Lake Michigan, as the river drains directly into the lake. Obviously, these contaminants affect the inhabitants of the river the most, with many fish showing signs of mutation due to things like PCBs, which work their way up the food chain and end up affecting many creatures such as birds and nearby mammals. All of these factors contribute to the problems surrounding the Grand Calumet, and without continued efforts to clean up the river, like the use of flocculation to remove particles from the water that can be later removed through dredging, the problem will just persist.
Alright, so we're starting off at the origin of the Grand Calumet River, which is the Calumet Lagoon in Miller Beach and Gary. So we're actually like really close to the lake right now. The lake is just over that hill over there. Taking a close look at the water, water quality looks really nice, super clean, super clear. Yeah, so this is the origin. It actually starts flowing westward from here, under that bridge in the distance. And then once it starts flowing over there, it becomes a river, and then it begins to flow through all the industrial area. So as you can see, there is some litter here. There's like a cup right there. There's a cone in the water, a little piece of plastic right there. But even with all that, the water still appears super clear. As you can see the bottom. You can see like quite a few distance away. But as will be shown later, the water is not going to stay that clean. When we move further downstream, the water will become murky because of all the industrial pollution that will take place there. Okay, so right now we're about 5 miles downstream from the origin of the Grand Calumet River. Just taking a look at the river water quality, the water has obviously made a big difference from the origin 5 miles upstream. Just looking at the water, it's super murky, it's not very clear. The color has changed. It's like, instead of dark blue now, it's sort of like a light greenish. Yeah, and on the way here, there was we passed some steel mills. So with this water quality change and passing the steel mills, I think something must have happened. Maybe some pollution will cause this river to change color the way it did. Alright, so right now we're at the west branch of the river. So the west has just broken off from the north and a little bit downstream. So just looking at the area, pipelines everywhere. There's even a sign right in the middle of the river: do not anchor, do not dredge. So there's definitely some pipelines flowing underneath this river. Moving closer to the shore, the shore isn't exactly clean either. There's tons of trash just littered around the general shoreline. Got lots of plastic over there. Yeah, I've got some bottles and stuff. Yeah, so at the shore, taking a look at the water, it's not exactly clean, it's really murky. So currently the river is flowing west, which is this way, meaning industrial effluent from further upstream can possibly flow into the west branch of this river, making it flow west until it eventually joins with the Calumet River to form the Little Calumet.
So here we're at the beach right outside of Lake Michigan, where Grand Calumet flows out from around there all the way behind that peninsula and comes in. So you could see all the factories, and we're in like the industrialization heart of the region with all those red buildings and smoke coming out. So the Grand Calumet flows all the way through there with all the industries like squishing it in between, and it flows out into the lake and comes right to us where all the pollution in the water is.